Yo, what is up, Yugi fam? Hope everybody's having a great day today. Welcome to another video. Today we're showcasing Despia uh, pre-Albaz structure deck. So this is pretty interesting. Uh, I I'm planning to play the deck post structure deck, but I've never actually played the deck um, at all as like a standalone deck. I mean, I tried the deck out like a while back, and I thought it was very subpar. It did a lot of cool stuff. It just didn't really end with anything. Like I never felt like it ended with anything that would be detrimental to the opponent. Like it just felt like I was just playing cards just to play cards. And yeah, it did have some really cool interactions with, protection and floating and whatnot. But things that just required the opponent to interact with you to be able to do, they were very reactive, and nothing where I can just disrupt my opponent at any given time. Um, that's what was lacking, at least in my opinion. But I think the deck, even right now, obviously it's not. It wouldn't be tier one. It wouldn't be nearly as good uh, as it will be with the new support. But if you wanted to play the deck right now, is it good? And in my opinion, I believe that it is a decent deck to play even right now. And that's mainly, in my opinion, because of Guardian Chimera. This card is one of the new boss monsters for the deck, and it's an insanely good card. It's a disruption that the deck needed and lacked, and not only does it disrupt the opponent at any given time of your choosing, it can also just replenish the hand. It can get so much advantage going just because you have access to this card in your extra deck. But yeah, I think this deck is pretty awesome. Even like right now, it has like a couple of things going for it. I've been playing it online. I really wanted to give it a chance, pre-structure deck, because um, I wanted to learn as much about the mechanics as possible before the release of the structure deck. That way, I don't have to really learn from the beginning. I can kind of adapt to the new stuff. So yeah, excuse my voice, by the way. I'm pretty sick, so if I sound like my nose sounds stuffy, that's probably why. So let's get right into the main deck, though. We're playing 3 Aluber. Um, yeah, you want to max out on this card because it gets you into branded and red. It gets you into opening. It gets you into theater. So you want to open this card as often as possible because it does get your engine going and gets you access to the fusion spell, which is the way that you disrupt the opponent. So we have 3 Albert, and then we have 3 Tragedy. I decided to play 3 of this card in this build because of opening. Anytime that we have opening, I want to be able to see this and opening together. Or if I, just see poly, which we are running in the deck, I want to be able to fuse this away. That's why I'm running 3. Kind of want to see this card in hand. Plus, we have Foolish Burial, sort of to trigger its effect, so that way you could search for Albert. So Foolish does act as a fourth copy of Albert. We have 1 Dramaturge. This card's awesome. Really cool card. When you use it to fusion summon, it just floats back. Even if it's banished, it floats back as long as it was used for fusion material. So even if it gets super polyed, it comes back. So yeah, it's the only thing I dislike about the card is that its effect negation it has a very small window as to when it can activate. Only when the extra deck monster is summoned. Kind of wish that it just had an effect that can just activate at any given time as long as there is an extract monster on field, but it is what it is, no problem. Libitum is a one-of that I really like, especially with branded in red. When you could add this back to hand from grave and then banish it, and then it'll still summon any of your Despias or level 8 or higher fusion monsters that are banished or engraved, which I absolutely love. It's really good. For the other, moving along with the other Despia cards, we have the branded spells, 3 opening. This is the Rhoda, and then 3 branded in red. I decided to play 3 copies of this card because the card is awesome. I love opening this card, just love setting it, having access to it, so that way I can play on my opponent's turn. And then 1 theater, I think 1 is all you need. Really doesn't. Most of the time, you're going to search for branded or in red or opening. but Theater is also a really good card just because it acts as another fusion spell in the deck. For the Edge Imp engine, I'm running three Sabers and three Patchwork, and then two Poly. I decided not to max out on Poly because I think that having three Patchwork, two Poly is plenty. I just don't want to clog on too many Poly, but I want to have two because we play three Patchwork. I love this card because this card has a really cool effect where if it declares an attack, it can add another copy of itself. But of course, the more relevant effect is if it's sent from field or hand to grave, you can add Patchwork, and then Patchwork gets you another copy and Poly. So just gives you so much advantage opening this card, especially when you pitch it like with opening. It's really nice because you just get, again, just so much value. We play DPE, so 2 Destiny, Celestial, and Dasher. Engine is insane. So we have, for the hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 Nib, 2 Phantasme, 2 Veiler, 2 Ogre. You can play like 3 Veiler if you want to, and then instead of like maybe the 1 Ogre, you could play like a 3rd Phantasme or something. I like Phantasme in the deck because we play like Super Poly, so like when you resolve Phantasme and you draw into Super Poly, it's just insanely powerful. Or when you draw into Ash, Ogre, Nib. Notice I don't play Imperm. I don't play Imperm for 2 reasons. One is Phantasme, so if we do draw into hand traps, I want to be able to resolve those hand traps. And then Chimera as well, this card right here. By its draw effect, I want to be able to draw like hand traps that I can use, not that are dead. So that's why I'm not playing like infinite permanents. But yeah, we play 12 hand traps in the main deck, which is really nice. Plus we have this 3 Super Poly as an additional going second card. And then finally we have Foolish Burial. This acts as our 4th copy of Albaz, since we can send the Tragedy. Alright, moving on to the extra deck. Sorry, I didn't match the sleeves. I pretty much just built the deck like, very, very quickly just to showcase what I've been working with online. So this is by far my favorite monster in the extra deck, Guardian Chimera. This card is amazing. It was a much needed monster disruption in the extra deck because because prior to this card there was no form of disruption really, other than like, say for example, the Predator Plant, this guy. So he is a disruption, but I mean, excuse me, the effect negation wasn't like too powerful where this non-target pops, plus it draws cards depending on how many materials used from hand and field. So yeah, this card's amazing. I'll do some test hands, hopefully showcase what the deck can do right now. 3 copies of Masquerade. I don't own a 3rd copy. I actually own 4 copies, I just sold 2. Yeah, Masquerade is insane. I love this card. When you like have multiple on field, your opponent just activating effect after effect after effect. It's very unique because it says that your opponent needs to pay 600 to activate cards, which is insane because it's not burn. It's just it pretty much affects the player where they need as a player to pay 600 to activate cards. So what's insanely unique is that if your opponent doesn't have 600 life points to pay, or either they're exactly at 600 life points, the next card they activate will just kill them, or if they say they have 500 life points, they won't be able to activate any card effects. As long as this card's on field, they can't activate anything because they need to be able to pay 600 to activate cards and effects, and if they're unable to pay the 600, then they can't activate those cards or effects. So yeah, this card's amazing. So strong. Again, it's not a burn effect. It's just again, just affects the player. Player has to pay 600. Then we have one core. I don't know how to pronounce this card, but yeah, this card is cool. It floats into Despia monsters when it's destroyed by battle. And then what I really like about this card is the attack manipulation, because it does definitely help you push for damage, which is really nice. And it just says that if it leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect. Oh, not by battle. I'm sorry, not by battle. If it leaves the field by an opponent's card effect. So, very important. Proskinion. This guy's a really good super poly target because it takes a Despia monster plus a light and dark. Um, so yeah, it's super powerful. Plus it revives extra deck monsters from your opponent's grave back to your field, which is insanely good. Super poly targets, we have Mud Dragon. The Prank Kids Weather Washer. These are, well, in addition to this being a super poly target as well, and this, when you have like a Despia card, but like these are strictly super poly targets, and I think they're pretty good this format, especially this for pranks. And then we have DPE, and then for the links we have one Anima, one Verte, one Dark. Anima is really cool because like when you open up Tragedy and branded in red, you could like normal summon the Tragedy, go Anima, and that way your branded in red is live because you could add back Tragedy, fuse the two off, and then trigger Tragedy to like search like an Albaz for like a follow up, which is really good. Verte's for DPE. This to steal DPE. So yeah, that is it for the main deck and extra deck. Let's get into some test hands. All right, guys, just doing a quick power shuffle here before we get right into our test hand. So guys, if you do enjoy videos like these where I do go in depth, break down deck profiles for you guys, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. That would be much appreciated. So let's get into test hand number 1. Yes, I definitely think this is a strong deck even in the current format right now. Just again has some unique things going for it, and with the newly released Guardian Chimera, I think the deck's actually pretty nice. So decent opening hand here. We open 2 Tragedy, branded in red, Effect Veiler, and Patchwork. So we'll start off with Patchwork, and then we'll search our Super Poly and Sabers here. Not a polymerization. Did I say Super Poly? I can't remember. So now what we can do here is we can go polymerization. We can fuse the Tragedy and the Sabers here. And then we can go into a Masquerade. So we can summon 1 Masquerade here. And then we can go Chainlink 1, Sabers, Chainlink 2, Tragedy. Or, I'm sorry, Chainlink 2, Sabers, Chainlink 1, Tragedy. Because I do want to be able to add Albaz. I want to make sure that resolves. So we had 2 cards, and we did activate Patchwork this turn, so Patchwork just becomes a follow-up. Now we can normal summon Albaz. Now what's really cool here is that they chain an Imperm or a Veiler. We can chain branded in red to add back Tragedy and then fuse this off. That way it's not on field anymore. Just something to keep in mind. So with Albaz here, we could add opening. Yeah, I think opening is cool because opening is going to be able to get us a Dramaturge or pretty much whatever we need before we resolve branded in red, since we did hard draw the card. So here's what we end with. Doesn't seem threatening at all, but here's what we do during the opponent's turn. So during the opponent's turn, we could pretty much just activate this right away. We could discard Tragedy. We'll get 2 searches here because of Tragedy. So we're going to search the Dramaturge, and then Tragedy activates in a new chain. And here you can either add Libitum, or if you want to like add like a follow-up, you can just add Albaz. But I think we'll add the Libitum here because it's going to be able to resolve like during the opponent's turn if we needed to. So now our opponent's going to continue. Anything they activate, they pay 600. We could shotgun this and make another Masquerade. You can do that. That's definitely an option. Then your opponent starts to pay 1200. But again, I don't want to rely on the pay 6 as a win condition. This is just basically to apply just a little bit more pressure to the opponent. But the second they do something like super threat. Oh, by the way, with branded opening, I think it would be better if we just summon the Dramaturge here, because that way we can pop multiple cards with Guardian Chimera. So it's up to you if you wanted to summon the Libitum, or you want to summon Dramaturge. Um, I think what we could do is we could just summon Libitum here, and then if our opponent commits multiple cards, we go branded in red, and we target the Tragedy. We add it. On resolution, we don't have to use Tragedy here. We can just like keep it in hand, and then what we can do is we can use Dramaturge, and we can use like Libitum, Aluber, Libitum Masquerade. Um, if we use Libitum here, I mean, yeah, we can trigger it, to be honest, because we can just revive back like an Aluber, I guess, which is really nice, and it helps us chain block. So we'll use these three, one from hand, two from field, and they get banished. And then we just summon our Chimera. And then what's really cool here is we chain block our Chimera to make sure it resolves. So we'll go chain link 1 Chimera, we'll go chain link 2 Dramaturge, chain link 3 Libitum. We can target like Albert, so that way we get it back on field. And then it resolves backwards, so summon Albert, summon Dramaturge, and then pop 2 and draw 1 with Chimera's effect. So we draw, oh, that's broken. We drew Nib. So we basically end, like with this field, your opponent always pays 600 to activate cards or effects. We're going to get an extra deck negate with the Dramaturge. We get the pop 2 plus the draw 1 with Chimera. And in this case, we have Valor and Nibiru for an additional 2 disruptions. Plus, we have Tragedy and Patchwork for our follow-up, because Patchwork is going to be able to add Poly and Edgem Sabers. So we're going to be able to fusion summon and trigger Despia and Tragedy once more. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 forms of disruption. Plus, we have Masquerade to just apply a bit more pressure on the opponent. So yeah, that was a pretty good test hand number 1. Let's get into one more test hand. Alright fam, test hand number 2. We'll probably make it just 2 test hands today. Nothing crazy. I do appreciate all the feedback, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great day, night, and let me know if you're enjoying the video. So here we go, test hand number 2. Hopefully we can finish the video strong. So this hand is okay. We opened like 2 copies of Albert because we have the Tragedy. And then what's unfortunate here is that we drew the 2 one-ofs. I mean, like, the chances are small. I didn't really power shuffle. I guess I should have. But basically here what we can do is we'll still have everything live, to be honest, because we're gonna go Tragedy, and then Tragedy effect. We'll just add Albert here. The opponent doesn't need to know that we have multiple Albert. And then what we can do is we can go normal Albert, and then here we want to prioritize adding branded in red. And it's a very, very simple end board here, because there's nothing else we can really do. So we can go branded in red. And if the opponent is playing anything like a dark deck, then we can super poly. And if we super poly, we can send like Dramaturge to fusion, the 2 cards off, and that way later on we can add Dramaturge back with branded in red and still fusion summon. But say that super poly never comes up, but branded in red comes up first, we can just target Tragedy, and then what we can do is we can banish Tragedy, banish Dramaturge, banish the Albert, and then we're going to be able to summon Chimera. And with Chimera here, we'll pop 1, and we'll go like Chainlink 1 Chimera, Chainlink 2 Tragedy, Chainlink 3 Dramaturge, summon Dramaturge, and then with Tragedy, we can search our last Albert. And then we'll be able to pop a card, and we're going to be able to draw 2 cards here with Chimera because we use 2 cards from hand to summon it. So there's still a chance that we do end with more disruptions if we draw hand traps. So we draw 1 and 2. Great. So we have Ogre, as a form of disruption. So that hand that seemed a bit subpar, we still ended with a pop. If the opponent summons a dark monster, then we'll be able to like super poly, um, because we do have Masquerade. We have, let's see, if the opponent summons like another dark monster, but a different type, we could summon Mud Dragon. If the opponent summons a light and a dark monster, then we can summon this guy. And if they summon a fusion monster, we can summon Drago, whatever. So yeah, we do have a good amount of disruption. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4 forms of disruption, plus we have a good amount of follow-up in the form of another Aliber and Patchwork as well. So yeah, this card, as you could see, this card is insanely good. Just allows you to do so much on the opponent's turn. Draw cards, pop cards, and it's a big, big beater, which I love. So you guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.